Hi, I'm so happy you're back, or welcome if you're new. Today we will be discussing signs you're too much in your masculine energy. Although it's called the masculine energy, do not confuse that to be strictly to the male gender. Both men and women have masculine energy, and it's regardless of your sexual orientation. But first, before we get into the video, let me remind you what healthy masculine energy is. It's the part of you that's logical, structured, goal-chasing, action-oriented, productive, ambitious, competitive, that just loves that drive. And it's so satisfying when you're operating in that state of mind because it's rewarding. You feel like you're making progress and you're getting closer to achieving your dreams. But being in that state of mind 24/7 is not healthy. Because if you really take the time to think about it, despite all the accomplishments that you've had, you still feel like you're not doing enough. You still feel unfulfilled, unhappy, unholy. That's simply because you're just too much in your masculine energy. And it's not your fault that you are operating that way, because this is pressured by the world we live in today. With social media, hustle culture, feminism, it tells you that you need to sacrifice your femininity for success. It says that femininity is weak. Femininity is derogatory. Femininity is holding you back. But I don't think that mentality is working, because look at us. We are the generation that is the most depressed and anxious in all history of psychology. Something's not working right. And I think it's because woman has lost what it's like to be woman. Women losing touch of their femininity is not only hurting them, but all men around us. So it is our responsibility to tap into that feminine energy again, to heal ourselves and then heal the world. Okay, that's my big vision. We got this. Easy task. So my goal today is to lay out all the signs and symptoms that you may be experiencing if you're too masculine. And that way you can identify which one specifically is related to you, so you know where to start for your healing process. To be able to solve a problem, you need to be aware of the problem. So your goal today, your homework will be to identify what are your toxic behaviors. The first one is you feel restless, or that you cannot relax. That was something that I struggled a lot with. It felt like every time I hung out with friends, I was always feeling like I couldn't fully hang out with them. I was always thinking about what I should be doing instead of being present with them. Another example is if I was watching TV. I'm like, okay, it's time to relax, I'm gonna watch TV. But while I was watching TV, I wasn't actually enjoying it. I was still feeling low-key anxious because I'm like, I shouldn't be watching TV, I should be doing something else. You literally feel like a physical discomfort being relaxed. That just shows that you have issues with relaxing, with being present, with taking care of yourself, and you might be too masculine. Another sign is that you cannot feel emotions despite intense situations. Like you're emotionally numb. And that's just a coping mechanism. You're trying to guard yourself from something. You're trying to protect, because the masculine is very protective, but it can be overprotective where it makes you not face situations, but then it just builds up and it will manifest otherwise, such as anxiety. Emotions are not bad. Emotions are meant to be lived. They're meant to tell you a message. Maybe that you care about something. Maybe that you're against something. Maybe that you love something. You need to be aware of your emotions. You cannot just numb them out and cope yourself out of it, because it's always going to come and bite you back in the ass. At some point in my self-improvement journey, when I was really masculine, I had this like lone wolf mentality where I would cut everyone out and I would just focus on myself. That anytime I would feel emotions, every time I would have something pretty intense happen to me, I would disregard it, because I was like, those are distractions. Those are distractions towards my goals. But then eventually they would just build up, and then I would end up having other issues down the line. Another sign that you are too much masculine is that you feel shame or embarrassed around your sexuality. This has to do with the concept with surrendering. Because when you are in your feminine energy, you're able to surrender yourself to your partner or partners. No judgment. You might notice that when it's sexy time, you can't like fully embrace your body and being vulnerable with your body. If you're too much in your masculinity, you'll feel uncomfortable expressing yourself, exploring yourself, and letting go. When you're in your femininity, you're able to surrender, to feel connected to your divine, to feel sexy, to feel feminine, to feel like you can be taken care of, you know? And I think that being unable to express yourself sexually is a shame, because the feminine energy is all about pleasure, and sexuality oftentimes is one of the things that women have the most pleasure in. They just don't know how. But we cannot deprive ourselves of pleasure in life. I think like pleasure is one of the most wonderful things. So just be aware if you feel ashamed about sexuality with yourself. The next one is notice if you are hyper independent, which is a quality that I had just literally throughout my whole life. I would never ask for help, or if someone came and asked if I needed help, I would always say no. Even if sometimes I actually would use a hand. I just felt like I had to do everything on my own, and I never wanted to bother people. But that's a sign you're too masculine, because your feminine energy accepts help, accepts the love that people are willing to give you because they do something because they care about you. It's funny because if you ever looked into the love languages and identify which one you have, it could either be receiving or giving gifts, acts of service, quality time, physical touch, or words of affirmation. I knew that my love language a lot of time is acts of service for my partner. So for my mans that I'm dating, I love to do things for them just because I love cooking for them. I love taking care of them. I love giving them a massage, whatever. I like making them happy. And I was like, oh, well, I don't get that back. Like my partner would not have the act of service back to me. So I would feel like I wasn't as appreciated. But then I realized in retrospect that I would never accept the help that my partner would give me. I would always be so hyper independent that I would like be saying no to their help. So look at how much you self-sabotage if you're too much in your masculine energy. The next one is if you have a tendency to over-plan everything. If you're too much in your masculine, you really want to know from A to Z everything how it's going to unfold, because you have a fear of uncertainty. Because being in your masculine, you have a very strong desire to reach your goal. You're very goal-oriented and action-oriented. But when you are too intense into it, you'll realize that you end up planning so much because you want to see everything unfold perfectly. So you'll realize your perfectionism will come out, and also you'll have this thing called analysis paralysis, where you analyze so much your situation that you end up not even making real progress. You're like paralyzed, and that is fake productivity. And then that gives you anxiety because you're not actually making progress, and you know you're not making progress. And then you're going to try to plan everything, and you're going to think that your system is not working, and you're going to try to make it work differently and create a new schedule, and then you're still not going to do it, and then you're just self-sabotaging again. So just be aware of that. And I say it so comfortably because I am that person. Like I've been there. The next sign you need to notice is if you have stomach or digestive issues. Your gut system, it was one of the most valuable teachers that you can have in your feminine energy, because this is where your intuition lies. If you notice that you have like a digestive issues suddenly, like you can't eat gluten, you can't process certain foods properly, maybe you have a change in appetite, maybe milk feels funny now, just realize your body is trying to tell you something, because that's not really normal. And a lot of your stress comes from your gut. And if you're stressing your gut because of all the overall stress you have on the outside world, you're not going to be able to tolerate food as well. It's not going to want to prioritize digestion when you have other things to worry about. I promise you, listen to your body. A couple years ago, I literally had an ulcer in my stomach from too much stress and abusing ibuprofen. It is so sad. I literally had this strictest diet afterwards because I had to heal my whole digestion. It was so fucked, and I couldn't eat anymore because it was just hurting, and I had no appetite, and it was just this crazy journey. So just realize if you have these systems that are out of whack, your body is giving you messages. Acknowledge that. When you're in your masculine energy, all that matters is what's here. When you're in masculine energy, you want to intellectualize everything. It's all about the brain. But the feminine energy is all about the body and the signs that it's giving you. So be intentional, intuitive about it. Wow, it's getting dark. Okay, the next sign is if you see yourself have a hustle and burnout cycle. So you'll find yourself going all in, going to the extreme, making rules, restricting, having guidelines, tracking everything. But that is just not sustainable, and you'll end up burning out. And then eventually you'll self-sabotage because you'll be so burnt out that you'll compensate with maybe scrolling through TikTok, smoking weed, eating more junk food. Like you'll find ways to soothe yourself because you're so burnt out from all the pressure you've put on yourself. So if you find yourself always going up and down in this cycle, you're too much in your masculine energy. The next one is if you have the feel to hide your body. You're like ashamed of your feminine body. As a female athlete, I know what that feels like, because being an athlete, it's like your body is naturally more muscular. So it feels more masculine. I've always been bigger, leaner, bigger muscle than most people. Most women, I would say I'm much above average. So it did not make me feel feminine, and I felt the need to hide my muscles. And instead of being proud of how healthy my body is, I would feel the need to buy oversized clothes so I could just hide it, hide underneath, hide my bicep, hide my big ass, hide my big quads. Like, I felt the need and I felt the shame of having a muscular body. However, now it's changed. I have worked so hard to love my body, but I've actively worked on it because it was a huge issue in my life. I was extremely insecure about my body, but I found ways to overcome that. It took a lot of work, and I've condensed that, and I will make a video very soon about that. Okay, so if that is a struggle that you have, I promise you, I have amazing solutions that will help you go through this. The next sign is if you feel insecure, if you have low self-esteem, or if you struggle with your self-worth, despite all the accomplishments that you have. Like, you might be actually getting rewards or results, and you still feel like you're not enough. That is a sign that you're too much in your masculine energy, because the divine feminine feels they deserve their success. Plain and simple. It doesn't try to be like, oh no, that's not for me. It knows it's deserving. So she doesn't have imposter syndrome. She doesn't think that she's not enough. She knows her worth. She knows that she's deserving of good things because she has worked hard to get there. She will accept all the good things that come to them. The next sign is if you're being too aggressive or even passive aggressive. Aggression is a sign that you're too much in your masculine energy. And that's a bad coping thing that you can have, a bad habit that you can have, especially in your relationships. You might realize that you're very passive aggressive with your partner when you're not trying to like be to the point and you're avoiding situations. You're also not only aggressive with like people and your words, but you're aggressive with your movements, with your energy. Like when you go from point A to point B, everything is rushed. Everything has to be go, go, go. There's no time for calmness. You're always in this arousal state, like you're stressed and you have to get after it. But rushing and being quick and always being in a hurry is hurting your femininity. Okay, last two. If you feel disconnected, unsupported, and lonely, you're probably too much in your masculine energy. Your overworked masculine energy wants to protect you from other people because it views others as threats. It doesn't go for win-win situations. It just wants to win. It's so afraid to have other people hold them back or hurting you that it's going to push other people first and sabotage yourself first, like you have control over it. And then the last one, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, if you have a huge need for control, that's a sign you're too much in your masculine energy. So if you have the fear of uncertainty, or you're very uncomfortable with the unknowns, or maybe you have trust issues, that's because your masculine energy is trying to be so dominant and protective that it's creating these high expectations for you to know everything, which is literally impossible, and then again hurting you and creating so much anxiety. So you might have resonated with a lot of these, and I'm sorry if you do, but just know that you're not alone, because I came up with this list by myself. I just thought about my experience and everything, and I wrote that down, and it's really sad. And you are suffering as well, and you're not alone. I just want you to know that you're not alone. And it's okay to have a problem. You're not going to go through life having no issues. It's normal to have something. But now it's your responsibility to recognize which one is dominating in your life. And that's a good place to start healing, to tackling that issue first. Because for every problem solving, you need to know what you're working with. And it's normal if you haven't noticed that it's been so hurtful in your life, because the masculine energy can be very deceiving. You're still accomplishing things, you're still getting awards, you're still getting praise, you're still making progress. Like, it seems like it's just good stuff coming out of it. But once you take a step back and realize that you're never able to fully relax and be present, enjoy life and be happy and feel loved, well, that's when you realize that maybe it's a little much. So if you're ready to make a change, you have to prioritize healing your wounded feminine energy. All women have a feminine inherent core where it's their inner child, that feminine inner child. But growing up, it's been hurt somehow, it's been damaged, and your masculine protective self has found a way to shield it and overcompensate to protect it. You have to try to figure out how it got hurt in the first place and demystify that. Perhaps today you could journal, just write down everything that came up from listening to this video, and that's a good way to start. Just write down how you feel. what behaviors you do, and ask yourself why you behave like that. Just let your thoughts flow. The more internal work you do, the better for the feminine spirit. When you heal, you become magnetic. You become sensual, radiant, intuitive, connected. And that allows prosperity. That allows love, abundance, peace, ecstasy. They all come to you once you're in your feminine energy. Remember, the female body was made to express those qualities naturally. That's who we are. Biologically, that's what we are meant to be. It's not something new you gotta create or cultivate. It's something you already have. You just gotta dig deep and go get it, bring it back to the surface. And that will be my next video. I'm gonna teach you ways to be more feminine, ways to tap into that energy. That is so exciting. That's where the fun begins, because you actually get to explore and feel different. Feel those feelings I've been telling you about. Feel feminine again. And the only way you can live a whole, fulfilled, happy life is if you learn how to have both dualities work in harmony. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I hope you're gonna start being more gentle with yourself. And we're in this together, okay? Let's heal ourselves and then learn how to heal the world. We are healers at our core, and I know we can make a change. We can make a positive impact. And I know that leader in you is excited for that. I love you. I'll see you in my next video. Mwah.